Hey guys, and welcome back to another Tasty Blender 2.83 tutorial. Today I'll be showing you how to make a really quick glass material. There are some really good tutorials on the subject. I think that CG Cookie or CG Matter has some really good tutorials on it, like the refraction shader. And today we'll be taking 5 minutes to just really quickly explain the shader, and maybe you can use it for your projects. Let's get into it. As you can see, I have here a project, very simple project, very similar to one that I've already posted on my socials. It's essentially just a circle, so a torus and a cloth sphere that passes through the circle using a force, two emission lights, or rather mesh lights, and just a simple background. So if I go into rendered view, this is how it looks like. Now, I want to set up a couple of things before going to the actual shader, so the actual glass shader. I'm first going to set up this circle over here. So I'm going to create a new material. I'm going to rename that one to, I'm just going to say circle. Select the principled BSDF, Control T if you have enabled your Node Wrangler add-on. This is just so that I get the coordinates. So I go to generate it. I switch that one up, and I'm going to duplicate this principled BSDF and put it down here. I'm going to add a mix shader. So I'll delete the image texture and I'll add in a Musgrave texture. Connect the vector of the mapping node to the vector of the Musgrave, factorial to there. I'm going to set one of these, let's say, to a reddish type of color, so you can already see how the color is being distributed. I'm going to increase the detail and decrease the dimension so it starts to look kind of scraped. I can also lower the overall scale so we have like bigger patches. The lower BSDF, I will just create a very shiny sort of metal material. So I'm going to increase the metallic, decrease the roughness so to where it's like still normal. Increase the specular slightly, specularity into 1, so I get this result, like a very patchy, shiny material. Nothing fancy, nothing too difficult, just adds a bit of pop to it. Subdivision, so I have just a smoother circle. I can maybe just copy the same material to the background. I can do that by going to the right and then copy material to select it when I have everything shift selected. We can change this later on. It's not an issue. Now it's time to set up our glass shader, which is going to be called glass shader. I made a material and assigned it to our bubble. In the principled BSDF, I'm going to bump the transmission to 1 and I'm going to lower the roughness to almost 0. So it looks something like this. And now I'll start adding some components in. First of all, I'm going to select the principled BSDF, Control T, and it's going to add the texture coordinate, mapping node, and image texture. I'm going to switch to the generated one, and I'm going to delete the image texture. Instead of those, I'll be adding two things, a gradient texture, I'll be adding this one here, and a color ramp. I'll be putting it here. I'll connect the vector to vector and the factorial to factorial. Now, I'm not going to connect the color ramp to the principled BSDF, but rather I'll add a mix shader and I'm going to add a transparent, not translucent, but a transparent BSDF. I'm going to also add a fresnel or fresnel node, I'm not sure what it's called, and I'm going to connect it to the factorial of the mix shader. This is actually going to distribute the transparent BSDF along the principled BSDF. Now, before I connect anything else, I'm going to add colors in my color ramp. Basically, I want to add the primaries, or rather the most extreme colors on the actual wheel. So I'm just going to go around and I'm going to add, let's say, the green one, the blue one, so whatever it is at the extreme side of the wheel, like so. So I'm just adding in all of these colors, so the blue, then the purple. I'm trying to include most of the colors. I'm not going to be able to include all of them, but it's going to be enough for our effect. So we end up with something like this. It can also look a bit different. Don't worry about it. As long as you have all of these colors in, it's okay. Change the interpolation mode to B-spline. so not linear, but B-spline. And now I'm not going to connect it to the principled, but rather to the transparent BSDF. And you can see it's actually trying to emulate sort of that refraction type of effect. Now, we need to play around with a couple of settings here. So I'll drop down the IOR of the principled, and I'll also drop the fresnel to, let's say, 0.1. I think 0.1 is going to be good. I can also change the interpolation mode of the gradient texture to something different, like spherical or quadratic. Depends on what you want. I encourage you to try these settings, to play with these settings. You're always going to get like a really cool result regardless. Now we can again play around with the settings. Maybe I want a chunkier, let's say a chunkier sphere or a chunkier bubble. So I have something like this in the end. Now you can see that it's very subtle. You don't want to go overboard with it. Just keep it slide and it's going to do the effect. It also works really well with HDRIs. I have one loaded up over here. Just going to increase the strength to 1. And you can see that it's trying to refract everything that it's in the vicinity. So you get these really weird, really interesting refractions. So yeah, basically that's it. Try with different colors, try with different settings, increasing IORs, decreasing IORs. Everything is going to have a different effect, maybe a stronger or thicker bubble or a weaker one. So yeah, that's it. Very simple, very quick, very fast. Hopefully you'll use this trick in some of your renders and it's going to come in handy. In any case, I just wanted to thank you guys. We are fast approaching 2K subs. I'm over the moon about that. Thank you guys so much. Like always, if you have any questions or if you have any ideas, feel free to leave them down in the comment section. I do check those and I can make videos that you enjoy and like. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next one.